Fridge Friends Podcast. Fridge Friends Podcast.
Miniature hot sauce. Hello and welcome to the Fridge Friends Podcast.
Yeah, baby.
I'm your host, Jake Martin. I got two special friends in the fridge today. We've got Ben Hess and Bret McCauley.
Yeah.
Welcome to the fridge, everybody.
Oh, we're just diving. We're just going, huh?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. We just recently did a comedy episode with Ben, and I'd have to say your reel's the most popular one. The falling out of the fridge.
That's how I hurt my neck, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I came flopping out of the fridge like an animal.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was a story behind it, but I didn't want to probe.
Yeah, he was doing a little Chevy Chase
It
physical
like,
comedy. I always do a reel to like promote the show, you know. So a long form podcast you can't put on Instagram, Facebook, any of that stuff. But you could put a 90-second reel.
Sure.
So I do like a little 5-second one of whoever's on the show just exiting the fridge. And then so it shows like the fridge with a room behind it, and people are always like, oh, okay, I'll watch that for 10 seconds. And it builds, you know, interest in the show or whatever. And different comedians have decided to do different stuff, but they use the first one to be like, yeah, what if I eat shit on the way out of the fridge, knock over some water? It went pretty well.
I didn't stretch. I can tell you that right now, it's healing, but you know that famous scene in The Matrix where they show up with all the guns and all the security guards are there and they
it's
blow
like
up all
the big
columns.
tower and they just go up floor by floor like murdering everyone.
Like at the end when they walk out of that room after they shot at the shit, like, and then like a slab of concrete falls off and hits the ground. That's like what the inside of my shoulder and neck is like right now. That's like how it feels.
It was your shoulder, your neck,
All of it.
your
Back.
fucking. What actually happened?
I don't know.
It happened too quick.
He did a couple
I didn't feel
hard
it. I
exits
didn't
out of
really
the
feel it.
fridge.
You like trip on something and
Tripping over the
Well, I
furniture a
pretended
little
to trip.
bit. And,
yeah.
you
I mean, I
know,
threw
to
my
make a little
body.
video.
It's funny too because I
Yeah.
look at it and it's like I'm going at like 80% too.
Yeah.
Like because I was like I'm old now. I better pull back a little bit, and I still.
Well, that's concrete out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
No, it was
very
from-
unforgiving.
No, it was from
And
holding.
the fridge is on wheels too, so
Oh,
it seems
God.
like it's secure. But if you
Yeah.
start trying to jump in and out of it, it'll definitely
That's
go.
fine. You might want to have some liability for it in here before you let people step out.
Nah,
I should have had him
I'm
sign a
cooler than
form.
that.
Sign a
Well,
waiver.
you may be, but fuck it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that is cool. I've never stepped
Done a
inside
podcast
of it.
inside
Yeah,
of a refrigerator.
yeah. I've never stepped inside a refrigerator. Fucking
Yeah,
podcast.
it's-
I had
Sweet.
no idea they were this big inside.
Well, and I kind of got the idea from like all those
I
old.
never went in one. I never tried.
Yeah, this is like the fridge from Ghostbusters. Remember that? Where they open the door and
Yeah.
they look into that fucking portal.
yeah.
God.
Yeah, I kind of got the idea from like all those old '90s commercials where you'd like, you know, like the orange juice commercial. They open the fridge and then it's like an orchard behind it, and some guy's
Yeah.
hand comes out and just like
Oh
gives
my
him a
God,
thing.
that's
Or
a-
you know,
yeah.
like there's a
Deep
bunch of
cut.
commercials like that, you know, or like they open the fridge for the Mountain Dew commercial and like a hand comes out and pulls them in, and they're like, all it's a rave in there or something. You know, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be a pretty good idea, you know.
Yeah. So you made this yourself then?
Yeah, I made this room just like separated from the garage so I could have it as like a little man cave, and then when I started doing the podcast, I got the idea of putting the fridge as the door, so then it kind of makes like a secret room.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing the podcast then?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
Yeah,
It must been 2 years.
It's been pretty fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's had its ups and downs. When I first started, I didn't know anything about like recording shit,
Sure.
so I was like learning how to podcast and record audio and edit and record video and try to get all that stuff to work together. And I had a shitty computer, so there's a lot of hassles with it. Now it's just like a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Because I kind of settled into like set up where I don't have to do much to start it up, and I know if there's any issues, I can kind of troubleshoot it in a few minutes, and then I don't have to like worry about running a bunch of tests or any of that stuff. Like before, I had quite a few episodes where like I'd have people come over, do the whole episode, and then a couple days later I'd go to edit it, and there'd be one either a problem with the video or the audio or something like that, and then you just tell them, oh hey, we pretty much just hung out for a couple hours because I can't fix this.
Yeah,
it's not,
everything's shit. Sorry. Sorry.
So then that gets frustrating, and then you can't the way I do it is really like conversational style instead of like interview style.
Right.
So you can't really recreate the same episode over and over again.
Yeah,
Which is nice
Like
because I
Iwo
can have the same guy on a few weeks, and nobody gets tired of him. But at the same time, I can't be like, oh, that awesome episode they recorded, I have no sound for it. Let's try to do that same thing again.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And it always seems weird if you bring stuff up that you've already talked about a bunch with somebody too.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Keeps it organic. Just having a conversation,
Yeah.
I would think when I watch podcasts, I like that type more because you kind of get a feel for who the people are really, and it's not like. I don't like to be asked a bunch of freaking questions.
I do.
Shit.
I have so many fucking answers. I'm filled with answers. Just ready to burst out.
Yeah, I feel like the morning show, radio show type thing is just not really my vibe as much. Just because of the same reason you're talking about. When I listen to podcasts, it's more fun if it just seems kind of like you're hanging out with some buddies,
Sure.
Especially if you listen to them at work and stuff like that, because then it's like, oh, hey, I might be like by myself doing this stupid thing, but it feels like I got 5 people hanging out with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I never met you before, and Ben was telling me that you guys met each other when you both enlisted in the Marines.
Well, not when we enlisted.
We were enlisted, but not. Yeah. Yes, we were both enlisted in the Marines. You go ahead, Hess.
Oh, but you weren't from the same area at all.
No.
I
grew up in Indiana.
We met. Okay. Technically, we met at 8th and I, which is after we had already been selected for Yankee White at that point, which is basically, you had to be. There was a moment in boot camp where. They gathered everybody in the whole battalion, lead series, follow series, that every recruit at that stage in boot camp, and gathered us all into a giant auditorium and had everybody stand up. And then they said, if any of you have ever gotten in trouble for anything, even a speeding ticket, anything, sit down. And a whole bunch of people sat down. If you got here on a drug waiver, sit down. And a bunch of people sat down. If you have a tattoo, sit down. And a bunch of people. Basically,
just like
anybody who's actually
alienating people down.
Yeah, and then at the end, there was 30 of us standing. And I happened to be one at that time. And they're like, all right, if you're still standing, come with us. And nobody had any idea what the fuck that was about.
Yeah.
And then, you get there, and then that means you were selected for a program called Yankee White, and you just end up, it just shoots you down, his cannon shoots you down
take a psychological profile test. They set you up with a background, like an intensive background.
Like a 500 question psych test.
Super crazy. And we didn't even know what it was for until...
Dude, I have no idea what it was for until after,
See, I've never been in the military, but most of the stories I've heard from people in the military and about the military is that's about how most shit goes, is you find out after the fact what it's actually for, like what you're doing, and you only kind of learn information along the way as you
need to know basics.
Need to know.
Well, turned out it was for, like Ben was saying, the Yankee White program is presidential security at Camp David.
Well, it's not just
that, but that's a main. That's where we met. Was at both waiting for our top secret clearance in Washington D.C. barracks, so we could go to Camp David, and then
there's a Marine Corps barracks in Washington D.C. on the corner of 8th Street and I Street in Southeast D.C. It's between the Washington Naval Yard and the Capitol. Thomas Jefferson plotted that shit.
Yeah, it's a rough area.
It was battles happened there.
It is.
Not anymore.
It was when we were there.
Yeah, it was when we were there.
It was when we were
it's
there.
It's not like that.
It's all
anymore,
cleaned
apparently.
up now.
Apparently, yeah. No, it was so whack because, like, from where we were there, you could, like, you look down the street and you'd see, like, the Capitol building and, like, these amazing carved monuments that are, you know, marble, and they embody all these, you know, deeply held American principles. And then you turn around and there's a homeless man in a wheelchair, like, pissing in the gutter in broad daylight. Like, right behind you.
Did I vape in here?
Yeah,
Wow.
of course. Yeah, you get smoking here too.
Yeah. That was that was DC. And so at 8th and I, that old barracks is now a place where we do ceremonies. Like, you know, the silent drill team, those guys in dress blues that you see on TV.
I was actually in the Young Marine Corps. I got 2 DUIs in 1 month when I was in high school. They were like, I don't know where you're going with life, but it's not the fucking Marines. You know? But so I know a little about the color guard and drill team and that type of shit. But
well, so when you get selected, all that you you go to security forces school. After you get selected at boot camp, you graduate boot camp, you can go to infantry training, do that shit, and then you go to security forces school.
okay.
Because you're doing security now. It's a whole different thing. And that's where the guys...
And they kind of just selected you guys for that, based on this parameter of, like, there's only so many people in the Marines that meet all these things.
Yeah, supposedly it's like 0.5% of the Marine Corps that gets, like, that duty.
Okay.
That's what they told us. I haven't ran the numbers, but they told us, and they'd always say it's 1/2 of 1%. I don't know why they just wouldn't say 0.5%.
Yeah.
You know?
Marines
Maybe because we're stupid.
Marines can't do decimals. Dewey Decimal was Army Delta.
But yeah, we met each other there, and that shit, how long ago was that?
18,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But
last Ice Age.
right after 9/11. So,
Uh-huh.
because I was in security forces school during 9/11. Because we both joined pre 9/11.
But like right before, it sounds like.
Like right before. I was.
That's so gnarly.
My boot camp graduation was 2 days after 9/11 happened.
Wow.
Yeah, and my family was supposed to be flying out, and all of our family was supposed to be flying out. And you may have heard boot camp's a lot of like mind games.
Yeah.
It's 90%.
Same thing.
Yeah,
That's all the young Marine Corps was.
Yeah,
Just drill sergeants yelling at you in mind games.
Sure,
you know?
mind games. We we were about to. It was September 11th. We wake up in the morning just like any other day. Drill instructors, get us at attention, or whatever, and they tell us. They said, "All right, where's my infantry Marines?" So we raise our hands. They're like, "All right, World Trade Center's been bombed. Pentagon's been bombed. You guys are going to war." And we were like, fucking whatever, bro.
I know.
You thought this is just one of their fucked up speeches they give every morning about.
They have us all run outside. We're getting ready to be marched to breakfast, to chow. And MCRD San Diego, which is where I went, was right next to the San Diego airport. And I remember out there doing push-ups in the sand, watching planes fly over, just wishing I could be on one of those motherfuckers. Like, get me out of here, dude.
Yeah.
We were marching to chow, and they stopped us halfway when we were there. Told us to listen, and it was dead silent. And they were like, "Country shut down. We're going to war." And that's when I was like, "Oh shit!" They weren't
There's
joking.
no planes.
They weren't joking. Nope. They let us call our families shortly after that, and just a wild time.
That's super crazy.
Yeah.
Especially just barely graduating.
Yeah, I didn't know anything, and I'd been selected for Yankee White, so I was kind of grateful I got that. 'Cause, I didn't join the Marines to like kill people or do anything like that. I just wanted to do something fucking cool.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing. When 9/11 happened, a bunch of dudes signed up to get revenge.
Yeah.
And like,
for sure.
There's like a stark difference I noticed when I was in the fleet between us and a lot of the guys I was in the fleet with that signed up after 9/11.
Yeah, because they had like a nationalism, like...
Sure.
Yeah. I joined because I was fucking lost. You know what I mean? And then I was like, well, the military is there, like, in my face, because I was, 17, 18, right?
Yeah.
The military is in your face every day. Like, they know you're fucking lost. And they're like, come on, man. We know you lost. We have years of
Come over
gotta
here
play
yeah. with us.
Yeah.
We'll pay for college.
Well, and like, I didn't give a shit about college at the time. I didn't value myself in such a way that I ever thought I could be someone that could ever complete college. So it wasn't even.
I just hated school. I could not do any more school. And if I stayed in my shitty ass small town, I'd either knock a chick up or get arrested.
KO.
That was my two options, or I could join the Marines.
And you probably saw that happen to
something
1,000 people.
Oh yeah,
down,
yeah.
You know, over time.
They're still there.
It's like,
They're still there. Yep.
But oh shit! I was gonna say 9/11. I was ahead of him, so that shit went down when I was in security forces school already.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of security forces school, and it was the day of FX, where you're supposed to run a live security scenario for 3 days, basically, like full on, and use every aspect of the training you learned throughout schooling.
Like room clearing and shit.
Yeah,
like,
all of it, like
hostage situations. And
CQB,
shit. Yeah.
with and your arm. We had what are they? It's not paint.
Sim rounds.
Sim rounds
Yeah.
with the
With chalk.
chalk. Yeah.
Oh,
It's actual gunpowder cartridge with like a chalk.
Yeah, it's a real.
How does that feel when you
Yeah,
get
it
it?
Oh, it's not.
It hurts.
It doesn't just paint you.
No,
Yeah.
worse than a paintball. Paintballs hurt too, but
Yeah.
it's worse than a paintball.
Yeah,
They know that
Yeah, you know you've been hit.
Yeah,
Dude, I shot that one at 8th and I. We did those. We went to Hogan's Alley at 8th. Was it 8th?
Is it that bar?
No, the fucking FBI training course.
Oh, next to the bar. Okay.
Yeah, no, they have all those where you go into a room and you run it, you clear it and shit with sim rounds and stuff, and then you get out, and then they move all the walls and furniture around and shit and run it again or whatever. And I did that once, and then there was I don't remember his name, but one of the dudes at 8th and I, a senior guy, was there, and he ended up bent over behind a couch, and I saw his ass from behind the couch, and I shot his ass like 4 times with sim rounds from like 6 feet, from like 6 feet.
That's
We call that danger close.
Damn.
God, I bet you stood him up.
No, I was probably. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I spent most every day of my Marines, of my enlistment, either in trouble or ready to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter. At some level, I could just fuck up, and it was like there's no difference for me.
Yeah.
They can smell that I'm not normal, so.
Yeah, we could. None of us were really like normal.
No,
but
nobody's normal.
Nobody's normal,
In
and you wouldn't think that like Secret Service guys.
Actually, when you meet a normal guy in the Marines, you're like, what the fuck is up with this guy?
yeah.
You're like, you can't trust this dude.
See, that's a theory I've noticed that every profession that you meet, if you meet them in their professional setting, you have one idea of them, and then when you meet them in their everyday life, every single profession, you immediately lose all the thoughts that you had about them in only the professional setting.
Absolutely.
Once you realize, like, with teachers, politicians, like, anything that you ever thought was, like, this person's different than everyone else because they have this set of values based on their job or whatever, or a lawyer.
I see what you're saying.
They're just wearing that hat.
Yeah.
When they take the hat off,
everyone's
like,
the exact same.
Yeah.
No, I
person.
mean,
it's the same thing with like children and adults. It's like when you're a child, you think that like adults have it all figured out, and then you grow up to be an adult, and you're like, oh, adults aren't real.
I ain't got
you just at one point you just start considering yourself an adult, but you're still just like figuring everything out. It's just to kids, you tell them you have it all figured out because you don't want to admit that a kid might know something you don't.
Right.
Like,
I just like. What I meant was that specifically everybody in the Marine Corps is fucked up in the head.
yeah.
That like specifically. That's what I meant.
Yeah. We know what you mean.
Well, they all everyone probably has different motivations, and like you were saying, the motivations kind of changed after 9/11 because everyone knew they were going to war, and you guys had enlisted not even thinking that was maybe a distant future possibility or something, but
Yeah.
definitely not. As soon as they get me trained up for this,
Yeah.
I'm going.
Well, I think I mean, at one level, you want to. You're a young man, and I remember straight up one time when I was getting recruited. I think I was in the delayed entry program for a few months, like waiting to get shipped out, and talking to the recruiter. He was a first sergeant, and he was like, he said something like, I remember him breaking it down and be like, look, let's be honest. What do you guys really want out of this, right? Girls and stories.
I mean, that's kind of what everyone wants.
I just like,
they're like,
sure.
Yeah.
Girls want to talk to me in high school, and you know what? In the Marines, girls talk to me. So that was
those uniforms, Marine Corps uniform. Nothing looks sharper than that.
Yeah.
Swear to God, that's what sold me. You'd be like, look at the Army, look at the Navy, Air Force. Then you see a Marine in his dress blues, with the really dark and the gold buttons that run down and the high collar and the white hat.
And he pulls out a sword and leaps out of the sky and slays
a sword,
slays a lava monster.
Yeah. It's even in the Marine song or Marine hymn that
you do have
the Army and the Navy.
Yeah.
Like if they ever go to heaven, that the Marines are guarding the streets.
No,
that's
the Marine
part
Corps,
of their thing, right?
Yeah,
like that's in the song.
It self-mythologizes hard, like hip hop does, like comedy does.
Well, but it's the same. I mean, it's not like they don't have the right to say that though. In a lot of ways, and historically, being like the first on the ground and everything, you can kind of talk shit to the other branches of big time.
We're not the guys to talk to because we're going to have an absolute bias.
Yeah.
Like I will sit here and shit on the Marine Corps all day, and at the end of the day, in the very inside of my heart, the Marine Corps was my mom. I love the Marines.
Well, I mean, any opinions that you have of it are well deserved because you went through it. I mean, most people.
But let someone else talk shit about the Marines. You're fucking done.
Yeah.
They're done.
But we met at 8th and I briefly, and then we got called up to Camp David. I was like 2 weeks before you were, but so we did fucking Camp David
up there
as Marine security guards, and that's the presidential retreat. And we did that
we were roommates.
Romeo 110.
Yeah, we were roommates. Yeah, room 110.
That was our Shangri-La.
And we by when you get to that point, the military's between getting your clearance, your background checks, like everything, you're worth about 50 or 60 grand from what I hear. And so they kind of keep us under lock and key. And you can't get in trouble.
Real tightly.
You can't get in trouble for anything because you're a high profile. That's a high profile post.
Yeah.
So
dude, remember
one part of the only reason that you're that 0.5% that you were talking about is because you've never got in trouble for anything, and they can't keep anyone in the Marines that has ever tarnished their record. And they can't let someone.
Iceman ended up on the ticker on CNN. Do you remember that?
I do not remember that. Yeah.
Man, we had a visit one day up there. It was in the middle of the summer. It was bush. I was on fucking uniformed, whatever the fuck, where you have 2 rows of guys standing there while the president...
the helicopter lands and they get out and the big ceremony.
It was the Japanese prime minister.
And you guys were on security detail?
Well, we were the guys that are lined up when the president and whoever his guest walks down. You got all the press taking pictures and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the welcoming committee.
Yeah, you'd have him with everybody's like doing the salute and everything like that, and they're walking down and. He was on. So sometimes you wouldn't. Not everybody was doing that, but sometimes you got picked to do that, or told.
Told.
Voluntold to fucking do that.
It fucking sucks.
It sucks.
It's 120 degrees outside. You can't move for like an hour. You're standing in a position of attention for an hour. The Bush has this fucking Scottish Terrier named Barney that'll come up. It'll like fuck with your trowel, like fuck with your pant legs, and like there's.
That's the most undisciplined dog I've ever fucked.
Jesus Christ, the worst dog I've ever fucked around with.
Ever. Worst dog.
But anyway, I remember doing that one day and then coming inside finally and going straight to the chow hall because I'm like starving and dehydrated and annoyed because of this fucking dog. And sitting down and eating TV, watching the food, eating some TV.
Might as well be eating TV.
And CNN's playing on the TV what we just did. Because for whatever reason, Bush did like most of his work at Camp David.
Yeah.
Normally presidents aren't up there all the time. But
he was up there 2-3 times a month.
All the time.
Yeah.
And that was your guys' security detail, was Camp David.
Yeah.
And we guarded that whole installation, that whole compound.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And not just when he was up there, like we guarded it, 24
you're
hours a day,
stationed there, and
7
then when
days a
anyone
week.
We were the
comes,
cops.
you
And
also
he would
guard
come,
them.
yeah, and then we'd have heightened security. He'd bring his Secret Service detail, the PPD, is that what it was? Presidential Protective Detail.
Yeah.
So he'd have his guys come up, and we were already
Scrotus.
Yeah, we were already there, like keeping everything locked down, and we met a lot of cool people. It was a lot of cool things, but they kept us under lock and key for a while, and we sat there and
Yeah, so I was gonna say one time I was in the chow hall doing that fucking shitty detail, and I'm watching CNN, and they're going over that, and then on the ticker, it said, Camp David Marine granted furlough to take high school sweetheart to prom.
oh, I remember that
On the ticker on CNN, right there. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And I knew it was Iceman.
Shut it off.
We had this guy in Psycho Platoon that we called Iceman because he looked exactly like Val Kilmer from Top Gun. Like, he looked like him. Same haircut and everything.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're all kids. We were like 19,
Yeah.
And he had his high school sweetheart still, who was a year behind him, who was a senior in high school back home in fucking South Dakota or North Dakota. They're a sweet hometown couple. He's Camp David Marine, and for the AP got a hold of it because this small town newspaper did a little blurb about
It's
it.
a heartwarming story, one.
Yeah, it hit the wire, ended up on CNN, and then our command exploded into tiny rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
Not rainbows, storm clouds.
Storm clouds. Typhoons and shit.
Yeah, he got shredded
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I
All
bet.
sorts of extra
Yeah.
crazy. He did the outside gate walking bullshit
Mhm.
for 3 weeks straight. Or
Yeah, the
something.
shittiest post you could have.
Just walking the perimeter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We had pagers. If they paged you, you had to leave immediately. There'd be times where we'd be in a club talking to girls and our pagers would go off and we'd have to be which sucked, but also at the same time it was kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
It's kind of neat.
The president needs us.
Yeah.
Step aside,
Definitely gives you a fucking sense of duty,
Yeah.
Oh well, when the president calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did about how long were you there? 2 years?
Fuck. I don't know.
Yeah,
Summers?
we
I count
did.
summer. I feel like it was 3 summers, but that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think I was there for 2 years.
I think it was 2 years.
Yeah.
You
left
guys, for the
shortly after
majority of
I
that time, you guys were in the same detail, in the same room and everything?
Yeah. Same
Okay.
platoon, same room. I mean, yeah.
That
Playing-
makes sense that you guys
third
get
herd.
close then.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, play-
that's one
playing,
thing I've always thought about, the armed forces, is that you probably meet friends that you go through a thing with to where you're going to be friends no matter what. You
Sure.
could live in Indiana or Carolina or whatever and still keep in touch. 10 years goes by, 5 years goes by, 15 years goes by, and you still get back together and hang out. And,
Yeah, just kind of pick up where you left off.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
We got really good at bowling.
We did. We started we joined a bowling league. Got really good at that.
We fucking
Yeah.
bowled over 200 regularly.
I'm terrible at bowling.
I don't know. We
I love bowling. I still suck at it, but I fucking
It's
love
fun,
bowling.
yeah. I
love
never
it.
go though. I go one time a year to a thing that for a friend of mine who passed away. his dad is like in a bowling league, but he was also big into bowling, and then they do a thing like on the same day that we had his funeral and everything. Every year at this bowling alley, all of his old friends get together with his parents and we go bowling. And it's pretty cool, but that's pretty much became like the yearly time I go bowling. And then now it's weird when I go bowling at other times. Like I took my kids once, and I was like, it's weird vibes bowling.
Yeah.
I have some of your Perrier.
Yeah, I wish I was better at it. It's like golf for me, you know. Like I'll get like 1 or 2 good rolls, like, or maybe a couple more in bowling. But like God, if I kind of like put practice into this, I might actually be decent. Same thing with golf. I'll have a couple good shots. You're like, man, I'm gonna go golfing a lot more. Hit the driving range more. I just never do it.
Yeah,
never do it.
That's the thing is like with all that stuff is you gotta spend the time.
Yeah,
take
you actually
got to
go do it instead of just talk about it. Yeah, we got good at bowling. We got good at shooting pool too.
There's like a group of us that rolled together a lot, like that got really close. It was like that was my college experience with the Marines. So all those experiences that you would normally have in college, like where our coming of age experiences happened within the context of being up at Camp David.
That's a pretty cool thing.
But we have like experiences that people don't have, but then there's like experiences like at that age you should be like dating normally and stuff. Having like, I feel like the Marines like put off like real heartbreak 4 years for me.
Well, because everything's temporary.
We were married to the Marine Corps.
Yeah, and you're moving around, and like so many guys like get married and shit, and then fucking, their spouses are 100% in it just to get out of whatever situation they're in their lives. Yeah.
Well, because you got to be a specific type of person to get married to someone that isn't going to be there most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there are definitely people who are... I could.
Yeah.
If I really loved someone who was committed to them. So if I found a woman that I loved and was committed to...
you're also that 0.5 that was selected as a fucking...
I'm a Camp David Marine. We're a cut above, dog.
Different cloth, baby.
Cool. That's the white trowel, because we clean.
I got to be around someone if I'm in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
I can't do the long distance. I've tried, but...
Well, the truth is I have mental health issues that deal a lot with abandonment, so probably
Me too.
not. But I would want to. I would want to do that.
Yeah.
I would want to do that
world,
for someone.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I think I could. Now, I think I could now
I
after
could.
everying I've learned and everything.
I don't want to be like
I've
on
done it
top
before, but only when I was in prison. So it's like, who am I going to date?
Yeah. Well, you still have options.
You do. There's
a couple hurdles you got to get over.
It's pretty rough, though. Makes that choice a lot easier to keep.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? You got another split?
Yeah,
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give you the rundown.
The rundown
on the history of Camp David. Why it is what it is, and why it's called what it is.
I know maybe a little bit, but you probably know a lot more than I do.
I don't know, it's not that much.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
Well,
that.
It used to be a yacht, did you know that?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. There was a presidential yacht, because, DC, Maryland is fucking on the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Naval Yard and shit is right there. And, so the president used to have a yacht to sail around, and you could bring foreign dignitaries on the yacht and shit.
Yeah, it's like Air Force One, but at the sea.
Sea Force One.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I like that.
So, and it was a naval, It was a naval yacht because it's still like it's government. It's not privately owned, so it's going to be manned by sailors, right? And then because it's naval, like anything naval, you know, or generally, like on a boat, sailors are running it and Marines are the security.
Oh, okay.
So Marines were the security on the yacht, and the yacht was called Shangri-La. And then when FDR was president, fuck that up.
You're good, buddy.
It stuck to my lips.
Yeah, it's got one of those crutches in it, so it doesn't get the weed in your mouth, but sometimes it gets stuck to your mouth.
So then when the FDR was president, they got worried about underwater boats.
Damn.
Yeah.
U-boats.
Submarines.
Yeah. So then they said, you know what, we better take this yacht and get it as far away from the ocean as possible. And they put it on top of a mountain.
Huh.
And they called it Shangri-La.
They transported the yacht up there?
No, they just took the bell.
Oh.
They built a facility up there.
Okay.
But since like they just moved all the like the headquarters and supply and everything, so the security force was Marines because they.
Well, it's the idea of it is a presidential retreat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, or they do little business deals up there or something.
They've made a lot of
summits, conferences.
There's conversations.
I don't know if it's the best conference.
Yeah.
We've been up there. We were up there. The conversation where George Bush and Tony Blair decided to announce going in as a coalition into Iraq. That conversation happened probably within 1,000 feet of us, you know, like stuff like that. Like we definitely knew, like
there's stuff we can't talk about. You know, there's stuff you
well, because you over here.
I mean, it's true, but it feels so weird to say that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, though. I mean,
I'll still say that at the bar.
I was thinking when you guys were talking about George Bush's dog, you have to stand still like the same thing as like those British guards, or like
even if from Buckingham Palace with the furry hats.
I mean, technically,
or like even if the dog's you can't be like fucking you.
You know the episode of The Simpsons where Homer's fucking with a Marine like that, and then the Marine just fucking knocks him in the face. He just punches him, and he's like,
But
like,
is it?
I thought
this
that was
the
United States Marine Corps, sir.
But weren't they like trying to fuck with like the forgotten soldier thing or something in that episode? Like I could see those guards being like a specific thing. You know what I mean? But that's the
we're
same
not
thing
like that. It's not that.
Okay, I was like, what the fuck?
No, we're not like a prestige. It's not like a pomp and circumstance post or something. You know, we're not just pretty boys.
Yeah, 99% of the time we're in camos.
It's like in the helicopter line thing.
Yeah.
That's the only time you're at attention.
Yeah,
just like hanging out.
Yeah, our weapons work. And by the way, you know, we spend hours and hours and hours and hours training on weapons systems.
We were really good at what we did.
Yeah.
Really good at what we did.
Yeah, well, I imagine the security detail
for
for the presidential retreat has to be like...
We trained with the Secret Service and then some other branches. I don't know what we were allowed to talk about either, so sometimes I just don't. But don't we... Like, I have a JMOC, which is a Joint Military Operations Citation, and I have one from a big joint thing happening at Camp David. That was a big deal.
Huh.
I don't remember what it was, but I have it.
I didn't get one.
You have to. You were up there.
Yeah,
we were up there together.
Whoa.
Maybe you were off with my ex-girlfriend.
Maybe.
Running around with her. You missed down on it.
Literally. We dated the same chick for a little bit.
Well, I mean, you did after.
I did after. He got
Well, you guys really dated.
Yeah.
We went on dates.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
What was it?
Yeah. Thought I wanted to marry that one.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I thought back in the day, yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Glad I didn't.
Yeah, that's crazy
Yeah,
when you think
glad I
back
didn't.
on stuff like that. You're
Yeah.
I remember we all
Yeah. And you're like, fuck, I'm glad I fucking didn't, man.
went to go to her house one time, like the group of us.
To Jamie's house?
Yeah.
Huh.
Me, you, like fucking Wes, like the Dove
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
And we got there, and her dad had like daughters only or something.
Mhm.
It was like the
Yeah.
first time he'd been surrounded by boys in like
Mhm.
1,000 years.
Mhm.
And he was like, check out my gun, check out the wood I made, check out my car
Uh-huh.
engine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she had, it was her, and then she had a little sister.
Hmm.
Yeah, surrounded by women. My dad's the same way. I got 3 sisters. So
Yeah.
every time I come home, my dad's just like,
Eat this
you
fish,
know, like,
raw.
Yeah.
finally.
I have 3 sisters too, but I also have a brother, so it's like
Okay.
there's still 2 boys and like.
Would you like to have a catch?
But
Yeah, so I get it.
yeah, I can see how. Like I only have 1 daughter, I have 2 boys.
Yeah.
But if I only had daughters, I could definitely see how my life would be dramatically different on
Yeah.
a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Like, just with the 1 daughter, it's already a crazy influence compared to 2 other kids that are
Sure.
daughters. It's
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
they're kind of their own thing.
Yeah. You have 2 daughters? Is that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, 2 daughters. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got no kids. I got no kids. that I know. That I know. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you always gotta throw out the disclaimer.
Yeah, that I know. No, but yeah, we shortly after Camp David, just to keep the story going. Shortly after Camp David, we kind of went our own separate ways.
Well, we got orders to go to the fleet.
Yeah, both of us got shipped to. You went to Iraq too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we both went to Fallujah.
Yeah.
I took a bad knock on the head, so sometimes
Yeah.
my memory's not all that great.
Well.
You guys, so you,
I
at
actually-
about the same time, you guys both
Mhm.
shipped out of Camp David to go to war.
I
Yeah.
went 1st.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Who was
crazy.
your roommate after me?
I don't even remember.
Shit, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Probably didn't act right.
He wasn't as fucking cool
sucked.
as you.
He sucked. Say, I don't remember who it was.
He didn't. We had to. We went through a lot together in Romeo 110.
Yeah.
So like saying bye to that, all the experience, like I said, the college experience. And stuff.
Did you guys ever see each other again while you were still in the Marines?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
on detail?
We saw each other. Well, we split. I went first, and actually, I wanted to ask you because when you got to the fleet, because this is what happened to me. I got to the fleet, and everybody found out I was from Camp David, and they were like, oh, you know, like this attitude, like we do real work here or something.
Oh, fuck.
Like,
Yeah,
all
I
you
got
did
hated
was,
on too.
All you did was dress nice or
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then they like banking on the fact that I'd be miserable in the fleet because I came from somewhere that was real comfy.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, what they don't get is where I was. I had to shave twice a day and get my hair cut 3 times a week.
That's fucking-
Like I remember,
that's out of control.
talking to the
Get your haircut
dudes.
3 times
Yeah.
a week.
No, you know, like the uniform stuff, like melting fucking fishing line down the crease of your trowel so it sticks and shit. The fucking hanger up in your cover, cloth cover, always a cloth cover, half a size small or a size smaller than the halo.
So it sits
that's
on
how
top
that's
of your
how
head.
it keeps tight. You want to bounce everything in the Marine Corps. A quarter has to bounce off of it. Everything, even your tight little ass.
And everything is supposed to be. Everything has regulations. This is supposed to be like this. This is supposed to be like this. This is supposed to be this far from this. This is supposed to be this close.
Your
together.
underwear is
Yeah.
folded
Everything
in a specific way.
Everything, and you better freaking have it right.
And you have a way that's
Yeah,
inspection ready.
Yeah, or you're done.
And, when you're in the fleet, every few months, maybe, the fucking full bird colonel comes around. Maybe. And when that happens, the place goes crazy. Everybody's tighten up, button up, field day. It just top down, left to right, clean, anal haircuts, and
Yeah.
for us, that was every day. for 2 years or whatever, however long we were up there.
And even though that's the regulations, that's probably not adhered to as much.
Oh
in
fuck
the
no,
fleet
dude!
and
I got to
rest
the
of
fleet.
fucking shit.
I got to the fleet.
So that's why they are disrespecting you guys when you show up. Is they're like, oh, you had to do this all the time, but we're out here doing other shit, you know.
Like I get to the fleet and there's a guy with a shirt off, wearing sunglasses, drinking a beer, like grilling food in front of the barracks. There's guys throwing a football around. I'm in a Top Gun movie. I was like, this is what they sold me in high school. I got to the fleet and I was like, finally, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it was great. We got to run really fast, through the woods.
Oh,
and
yeah.
fucking, like, everything we did at Camp David, 99% of it is CQB, close quarters battles, rune clearing, black water bullshit. It's, fucking MP5s and shit. And, like, fucking Benelli shotguns and, switching to secondaries. It's all that stuff. It's cop training. Like, we have cop training.
SWAT team.
Because it's all personal.
Which is why
security guard.
Which is why I can dissect any police brutality video. Why I can dissect it and know that 99% of the cops deserve to burn.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that was all the train. That's what that shit was. And then I got to the fleet, and then it's like war training. It's. Land nav.
Other part of the spectrum.
Yeah.
We were on
Did
this
you guys
part.
stay in the open air tents?
When?
Yeah, at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
Like
times.
in the field, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it depends, but
And sleep under the stars a lot too.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
you don't always need It's I would rather not because you can move quicker.
Yeah.
Like I would sleep with my boots on. I wouldn't have taken my boots off for 4 years if trench foot didn't exist. Like it's such a pain in the ass, because you in the Marines.
Well,
it's
you want probably imagine you want to be fucking ready to go.
Yeah. And then what happened? Because so we get to the fleet, and then sorted out the whole fucking not understanding that my job sucked conversation with the other guys, because we also both were NCOs. So I came into the fleet as a corporal because I got ranked up.
Oh, okay.
I got stripes doing security and doing all that shit just from not fucking up hard enough to not get promoted. You know what I mean?
So once you actually joined the fleet, you're already ranked up.
I put in the time and shit too, and also I had a killer PFT score and a good weapon, like a decent rifle score and a good pistol score. I did the little workbooks.
Knowledge. Yeah.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm just I
Some
just
people
get
can
the
fucking
impression
take tests, but
I get the impression that every time someone had to promote me, they were not sure about it. Like every single time, I'm sure they were like, "I
see it in their eyes."
This doesn't feel like I should," but they couldn't they couldn't on paper find a reason not to promote me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I fit the criteria, but they knew I probably shouldn't be getting promoted.
Just a gut feeling. You should not promote this
But
guy.
they promoted me anyway, so I got to the fleet as a corporal already, so they put a fire team under me. And 2 dudes in my fire team, actually, all 3 of them, maybe all 3 of them, I think, that were put under me were combat veterans from the initial invasion in 2003. And I was in charge of them. And 2 of them were former fire team leaders. And then we're working up to go over in 2004. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was so fucking scared.
Yeah.
And so there were the 2 of those guys, Carter and Dunn, which were fucking amazing. Actually, my whole squad, my platoon was. I got really lucky. I ended up in an amazing company, in a really well-trained company, Because what it ended up happening is we were supposed to go to a Mew.
Go afloat.
Yeah, do a float, like in the Pacific, a Pacific Mew, like Australia and the Philippines, and spend 6 months on an aircraft carrier. We were supposed to do that shit. I thought that's how I was gonna fucking close out my fucking tenure.
Mm-hmm. You thought wrong. You thought wrong, brother.
But then, you know,
That
this was
is not
like,
too bad.
because at the time we thought, you know, we entered Iraq. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember going, we should have this swept up in about 6 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, George Bush
6
said we were
months.
victorious. Like, when was that? Like, I don't know.
Every year.
Yeah, like a month or two after. It was like in the summertime of 2003. And when we went over there, at the beginning of 2004,
I gotta say
the insurgency wasn't. I mean, like, we whooped their ass in the invasion, and the insurgency wasn't near what it got to be. They told me before I went over, Fallujah wasn't a thing. Nobody heard of it. They said what we can expect is we were going to be like cops walking a beat, like swinging our batons, you know, this and that, just walking up and down the streets, keeping the peace, da 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 da. And it was not like that at all. Even close, bro. Even close. Yeah, when we both went Fallujah turned out to be some of the heaviest urban combat since the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, and that was in like 72 or 73, something like that. So the most combat that that a fighting force from America has seen in 40 years, you know, and it got super crazy. It got super crazy.
It was that. Well, I wanted to say really quick is I just wanted to be really clear because I think about this shit all the time. But I remember, so we're going in Iraq, and I remember thinking we should have this thing wrapped up in like 6 months, right? And now we're like, what a joke. We're stupid, right? But at the time, people like my dad were like, we should have this thing wrapped up in about. My dad was like that at the time, right? And we have an excuse. That was our first one. I'm like, Doug, you had Vietnam. You already knew. Like, why'd you think this one was going to be...
Yeah.
I just want to say right now, do not let them get you again, no matter what they fucking tell you. They're going to try and do it again. They're going to try and do it again. Okay? So don't be like, oh, we'll have this thing wrapped up in 6 days. It's not going to be that. Okay?
It ain't wrapping up.
10 years later.
Yeah, America doesn't wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Remember that. Anyway, I just want to fucking clear.
Thank you.
Alright. Anyway. Yeah, Fallujah was whack.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't go directly into Fallujah, did you?
I did, yeah. We got we took over for the 82nd Airborne.
We met before. Remember?
We linked up
Yeah,
in like Kuwait or something.
Was it at Navstar? I don't remember, but one time I remember coming. He was in one of those bigger temporary areas, and my platoon was.
It would have been Kuwait, I bet.
I walk into my thing, and all the guys are like, "Hey, Hess, your boyfriend stopped by. He left you a note." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then on my bunk, he had found out my unit was here, and he left a note. And then what really sucked is when I saw it was from you, I actually got a little excited. And then the guys could see that I was excited. And they were like, "Ooh!"
Well, I shouldn't have drawn dicks all over it. And hearts.
But then we ended up like meeting up outside like tents in the sand. This is early in, so like around like March or something, probably of 2004 or something. I'm going to I really don't know, but I remember us gathering up, and we were smoking cigarettes, and a couple of my guys were around, and we were telling stories about Camp David, and we just kept going and kept going and kept going, and then pretty soon there were like 50 Marines standing in circles around us, just because they just stopped and caught, and they were from every unit of just people walking back and forth.
Yeah.
And then oh shit! And then I remember being like, I don't know what to do with this cigarette, because we were just in the sand.
Do I just drop this? Like one big ashtray.
Can I bury? Do I bury it?
Yeah.
One time in Iraq, I used to put my cigarette. By the way, I used to put it out I put it out on the bottom of my boot like that, really quick. And one time I did that when I was talking to an Iraqi civilian person, and I did it. And if you show an Iraqi the bottom of your foot or the bottom of a shoe, it's like flipping the bird. And they got really mad and wouldn't talk to us anymore.
You still harbor that to this day.
Because I put my cigarette out like that.
Think about that before he goes to bed. Yeah.
I think about that still.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of language miscommunications I think about over there all the time.
Yeah, they taught us basic words and phrases and some of the customs and stuff like that, but it was all hearts and minds back then.
But it wasn't really.
Yeah. That's what they told us it was.
I know, but like
if
you really wanted hearts and minds, you wouldn't send in Marines.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't send in Marines and tell us just to like not fuck everything up.
And I didn't fit. I didn't fit because I was like one of the very few like infantry guys that was thinking about it liberally. Like, I believed in the mission. It took me forever to piece together that most of the dudes had an idea that what they wanted to do was go tearing through every home and, like, just indiscriminately shoot whoever inconvenienced them.
Not me. I wanted to leave as soon as I got there. I was like, fuck, I don't want to be here. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I was very much...
That's a crazy detail to have, though. Just storming into fucking people's houses, like, demanding information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at the beginning.
We didn't do that, really.
We got on deck. I remember it was
early. It was early.
February 29th, because it was a leap year that year. We took over February 29th in Fallujah. And then we, got our bearings and everything, started doing like little patrols out near the city and stuff, not really pushing them too far, just kind of seeing what was up, had some meetings with the local leaders and stuff. And then the Blackwater contractors got killed,
and
then they got
strung
up on the bridge, and their bodies mutilated.
Abu Ghraib
and
too.
And then we had to come in and show force after that.
Yeah, well, because that's what they were doing. And
yeah, we had to have an answer for that. So that's one of the first times that we actually came in with ready for action.
And now at the same time, while that was going on with his unit, we were getting like rocketed and mortared.
Yeah,
like every day where we were.
Well, but so then, do you feel like the people who were involved in that shit were like kind of willing to help you to an extent, or because they don't want that shit going on, or they were just all scared?
Back then, I think there were people that were definitely more willing to help us. Yeah. I think there were more people back then that
well, because nobody wants fucking bodies hanging on.
It's not just
not at all.
It's not just that. You have to understand. You have to like those kinds of conversations. You have to understand. Like, you have to put it in the context of like what the Ba'ath Party meant to the people of Iraq. Like, in terms of the toppling of political power, Iraq was. I mean, it's a classic story that what had occurred was, a people exploited by Western powers because they were sitting on oil, since World War I, right? Iraq didn't exist before World War I. It was part of the Ottoman Empire. And then when the Ottoman Empire collapsed, a British guy, an American guy, and a French guy just drew lines on a map and stuck a whole bunch of people together. And then there was oil there, And so what you end up is like, with sort of a pseudo democracy that's like being yanked. Iraq can't have a lot of autonomy because it's at the focus of so much need, right? It's like a hot chick.
Well, because it doesn't.
It's like a hot chick in a club.
It doesn't have much infrastructure, right?
What?
It doesn't have much like similar infrastructure to more developed countries. So
I don't think so. No, it didn't look like it. Yeah, they're not on me.
Yeah, that's fine.
A cigarette?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll give you one.
You got one? Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, can I get one too?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, let me get 2, dog.
Yeah, no worries.
Let me get
for later.
12.
It's the least I could do.
Just give me that pack.
But what had happened is they have this democracy, but it was filled with corruption. And then, and then classic story is
If
the
you
guy
push
comes
that
in.
button down, it will suck that up and then suck it down.
Guy comes in and says, I'm going to clean up the corruption. And that was Saddam.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And then you end up, with a crazy narcissist guy.
Yeah.
And then so when he's toppled, you're talking about like the people feeling like a new chapter's happening. That was like 20 years of national trauma when that guy was in power.
Mm-hmm.
We would go there and we would, when we'd find people that we were suspicious of stuff, we had to sandbag them, just put sandbags over their heads. And it was just because we had a little forward operating base that we were operating out of that had a HET team in it, which were people that were really experienced interrogators.
Yeah.
I think this thing's coming loose too.
But we had to get the people to like these really experienced interrogator guys. And we had to sandbag them so they wouldn't know where they were going. And when we put sandbags over their heads, they would freak out. Understandably, but like, there was one day where we were sandbagging a couple guys, and all the women of the house came out of the house and began wailing. Like, biblically wailing. Like, there's a word that, lamenting. Like they were, like it was the most. It's the most.
So they just all came out wailing in the street because they see you out there putting bags over all these people's heads.
Because they
really, you're trying to protect their identity either way, right?
Well,
because I imagine if you get seen talking, even if you don't say anything, you get seen talking to the Marines, and then you guys end up with information that leads to bombing a fucking Taliban headquarters.
They get their heads cut off.
Then they get their heads cut off because they assume, hey, you told them, whether they did or not. So then you bag everyone's heads. Then they don't know anyone who came.
Anyone that got caught working with us got decapitated, and then put on display.
And then.
So did I badge it?
But they were so used to
doing the sandbagging.
They were so
people
used to.
Weren't really willing to cooperate with you guys.
Sure. Yeah.
They were so
because
used
of that,
to
because
the
of the fear.
party.
It's like the same thing as the cartels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're just afraid.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, it was just a bad situation all around. But
what I'm saying is they freaked out so hard because they were used to when the bath party sandbagged you, you never saw your husband again.
Yeah.
And we were just sandbagging them so they wouldn't know how to get to where we were taking them.
Yeah, but they thought that's it.
Yeah. But we'd always bring them back. We'd always bring them back healthy. They were. We fed them and took care of them, make sure they had water and shit.
So, I mean, in a way, it's kind of fucked up, but it's like the same thing when you thought that the drill sergeants were just fucking with you when they said that we got on 9/11.
Right.
You're like, what? You're like, yeah, okay, you guys pull this bullshit on us every morning. Psychological warfare, we're going to war.
Yeah.
And then, you're like, oh, actually, we're going to
actually, I'm at war. Yeah.
Actually, that's wild.
Yeah.
Didn't you get shot in Fallujah?
I got shot. I got shot and blown up. I got shot March 26th, so right after the contractors got strung up. We were, going through the city, showing force.
Is this before before the assault on the city?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like the first one in my platoon to get shot. We lost a kid, Sandoval, KIA. But we got ambushed from the rooftops at night, and we tried to run behind some cover. They were on the rooftops, so we were trying to shoot at them, but we were caught in the crossfire. It was just bad. We had a whole bunch of Marines out there that ended up opening up on us. And,
God.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I ended up taking a bullet through my left hip. And set me out for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I stayed in country.
After 6 weeks, you went back to duty?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's wild, too.
They said I could, like, you know, like they said I could go home and like do all this, but we just took our first KIA, you know, and it was the first action that we had really seen.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
and you just got in a crazy firefight, got shot. You're like,
I knew if I went home, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. So I was like, no, I'm not going home. So just stayed and healed up, and then started fighting again in the summer.
Damn.
Yeah. Alongside this.
And then you end up getting in explosion.
Yeah, and then 3 weeks 3 weeks before I was supposed to come home, we're going down like a highway, and I'm in the back of what's called like a 7-ton. It's like a big like dump truck size troop carrying truck.
Okay.
You know, it had armor on all the sides, you know, everything, and there's I think 5 vehicles.
Was the back just like open?
Yeah.
With a fucking thing over it. With
Open
a bunch
bed.
Of people in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
open bed.
But a big ass open bed,
But
like a semi truck style.
We had like 15 guys in there.
Oh, that's wild.
And driving down the road, and I remember taking the covers off my scope of my my M16. Sometimes they'd shoot at us when we went past the city, so I wouldn't be ready to like return fire if we had to. And I took the covers off my scope, and I woke up. And it was 10 days later, and I was in Bethesda, Maryland, and my mom was holding my hand, and I was like, "What?" And then she told me we got hit by a suicide bomber, and I was one of 5 out of the 15 that ended up living.
Damn.
And my arms were all strung up. I lost my left kidney, my spleen, took some pretty bad head damage. Broke my back, fucking killed my radial nerve, almost lost my left arm. Yeah, fucked me up really good. I'm lucky to be here.
Definitely lucky to be alive. Yeah. 5 out of 15. It just completely exploded that truck.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, they said it was like a 500-pound bomb and 2 artillery shells, and then they packed like ball bearings around it. Supposedly, I got ball bearings in my neck that I can feel still. But it's crazy. Yeah, I just woke up. You know, just like we're sitting here talking, like, and you were to wake up, and it's like a week and a half later, and you're across the world. You know, and hurting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you were in a coma that whole time, huh?
I was in a coma. So yeah. So that was close. That was close. Fucking close.
That's got to be one of the craziest experiences, waking up like that and just not even knowing where you are, what happened. Like, it seems like, did it seem like a minute ago you just took the scopes off, or did it seem like you were?
Yeah. Just like I blinked my eyes and I woke up. And and your whole life's changed at that point. You know, like now you're battling. Now you have like bad wounds. You know, like I had staples all down my stomach and everything. You can't. Both my eardrums were blown out, so you can't like take a shower like you used to anymore. Or, you know, then on top of that, all the psychological trauma.
Yeah,
that
having to adjust to the fact that all of a sudden this is all the reality now.
You could feel, I don't know about you, but I could feel myself like changing over there. But everybody was kind of changing with me, so it wasn't.
It seemed more normal because all your peers are also going through the same thing.
But you knew you were different. You know, by the end of it, because you can't go through firefights and like dodging bullets and watching people get killed and stuff and not change at all, you know. So you know you're changing, but you don't really realize how much you changed until you get back, and then you have you have a basis of comparison.
I didn't even realize that it changed me for years. Actually.
Yeah.
I thought that everybody else was wrong.
Well, they are.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, and it's the psychological part that you hear a lot about, but it's for good reason, because it's pretty tricky, and it's everyone kind of processes trauma a little bit different, and it's all subjective, you know. It's not like you break your thumb and you look at your thumb and you're like, okay, it's getting better, you know, or it's fucked up, I fucked it up, you know. When it's your head, when it's your mind that's injured, you know, the instrument you use to measure is the thing that's broken. So it's like trying to see how far something is with a fucked up tape measure.
This is you know how
there's no way to even try to grasp or comprehend it.
Here's how I explain it.
Gauge of it is fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're measuring it off of something that you already know is abnormal
Yeah.
from what the normal thing would be to think or to do. Or
Absolutely. Yeah.
I compare it to mapping the orbits of the solar system.
Of course you do.
Because because it's you're trying to figure out the paths that these orbits are taking around the sun, but you're on one of them, and it's also going around the sun, and it's also spinning. So it's like trying to draw a map on a tilt-a-whirl. You know.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get out of the tilt-a-whirl and look down onto the solar system and just draw it out.
yeah,
You know, like Newton and Copernicus
But-
they had to invent fucking calculus to be able to do it.
well, they did with calculus and math. They did figure it out that it's like an even formula between planets. So if you only know the distance between two planets, you can calculate all of them. You know
That's
that,
news to me, bro.
Yeah.
That's some
Yeah.
space.
I don't think
I like it.
No, for
I
sure,
like
that's
it.
a real thing. It's a mathematical formula that they discovered after they discovered the orbit of the planets.
I'm gonna have to look
that
up,
in
Jay.
relationship to each other, the planets have an exact alignment where it's like the same thing as
Oh,
if,
probably
like,
because,
1
like-
times 2
Probably
is
because
2, right? But 1 times
well,
3
but
is
probably
3. So
is it from falling into alignment from gravity? Like they
yeah,
fell
exactly.
probably locked into an
Orbit
alignment
around
like
the
that.
sun. Yeah. So,
I'm just-
but you could calculate it from the distance because it's the same. It's like if you were to spin a string, and then you release it exactly 3 times
Yeah.
the length each time. It also grows a certain amount. So they know that like the distance between Mars and Earth is not the same as the distance between Mercury and Mars, but the difference between Mercury and Mars and then Mars and Earth will be the same relationship as Earth to Venus and then Venus to Saturn. Like it grows the same exact amount. So you could divide it or multiply through the formula of like you times it by 1 point whatever the percentage is that it grows each time. Like the same thing that you do when you calculate a slope. Like if you only know 2 parts of the triangle, you can still know that it continues
Yeah.
down the same way. It does that same thing with the orbit of the
I'm gonna-
planet.
Like Pythagoras?
I'm gonna have to.
Sim-
Is that what
similar
you're
to
talking
that,
about?
yeah.
I'm gonna have to.
Okay.
It's not the same. It's not the same because
Yeah.
that's a triangle.
I'm gonna have
So
to
this is
hit
an
the-
ellipse orbit, but they know like based on the gravity, like
of
of
the,
the sun,
situation.
that it has the same effect mathematically on all the planets. So they all are not the same
I don't know.
distance apart, but
okay.
they're the same
I'm gonna have
formula of distance apart.
To. I'm gonna have to.
And what's
Google.
even crazier than that is that's like all the monuments that are mapped on the stars or line up with planets. It's because of that. Because they could just calculate it out on the Earth.
Monuments on planets.
Yeah, like how they'll say Machu Picchu lines up with this constellation or this planet, and Stonehenge lines up with this planet on this day.
This is some
So how-
Joe Rogan
how-
ass shit, man.
Well, but how they end up making that, if you think about it, instead of having some way to calculate the distance between the planets, like with a spaceship, is just math. They just figured out that same calculus that the Greeks figured out.
Yeah, I'm coming.
And they were like, okay, we know this distance from this distance is the same, so if we just keep doing that, it will mimic that.
I don't.
I love it. Yes. Sounds cool.
No,
as
I
hell,
mean,
yeah.
how does that account for? How does that account for the asteroid belt, which is where a planet ought to be? So there's a big zero where there
Well,
ought to be
but-
one.
It's still the amount of gravity, though, if you think about it. Like, it's not a solid planet there, but the mass of those asteroids going through it, the same thing as like the Kuiper
Yeah, but I mean,
Belt
how would they
further on.
know? I mean, but if you, but it's not visible. they wouldn't have seen it in the sky to say. So how would they have? I'm not going to go down this road right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though.
I'm going to Google this.
I'm just shaking my head.
It's definitely something to look into, and it was like throws a side shoot on what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, it's great.
But it's like
Let's talk about this is more fun to talk about.
Yeah. It's basically like you wouldn't have to see it though if you knew the math formula. You could just assume the next planet would be this far. The next thing would be this far.
I know they predicted where Pluto was going to be before,
and you can't see it
before they found it. And they said it should be right here in the sky. They called it like Planet X or something.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
but no, that was because they could tell that that something had a gravitational effect on other bodies.
But that's how modern scientists could tell through a telescope, looking at.
It's also
planets.
Pluto.
But like back in the day, if you just knew this formula, you could assume the next thing
it breaks down out there.
Is at the edge.
No, because Pluto's a dwarf planet, and there's like out there, there's like at least like 50 dwarf planets that we know of, and they're not at all different. Like
distances from
Pluto
each other.
is not special. There's like 40 or 50 out there that are a lot like Pluto.
Probably farther out though, which is why we never seen pictures of them.
Yeah, but not like. I mean, they're out like by the Oort cloud and shit, and the Oort cloud itself wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't just be planets that would follow that formula. It would be any gravitational body.
Well, it's just like.
And there's also comets that are coming in at different angles too, and there are comets that have been swinging around for millions of years.
But they don't affect planets' gravity.
But they haven't been locked into anything other than their own.
Yeah.
Pluto's orbit itself is tilted, and there's tons of dwarf planets that are tilted. I'm just saying, I don't feel confident in. It starts to fall apart. It starts to fall apart when I start to apply all the knowledge that I have about how, like the knowledge I have, and it starts to fall apart, and it makes me feel like what I think is
that they're randomly spaced apart?
No, is that you're not saying exactly what it is correctly.
I probably am not.
And
I'll agree with that.
I think if
I'm not like an astrophysicist, so I'm sure I left out a lot of key details.
I think if I go
shitty
home,
explanation.
If I go home and I vaguely Google like what you'll
find it right away.
And then I'll be like, oh,
because it's not like a conspiracy theory thing. It's like a scientifically proven astrophysicist thing, where they based a lot of their knowledge of the planets on this basic law that they know. Every planet is spaced at the same.
I'll have to check my sources.
Yeah, they're not spaced the same distance apart, but you can find the distance of planets you can't see based on the distance of. Like, if you knew the distance of 3 planets in relationship to each other, you can map the rest of the planets with that.
Okay, but I have a question for you. Imagine that lamp, but it's full of human teeth.
It might be full of some fish teeth, and there might be a couple.
That is like aquarium rocks, isn't it?
They're all agates from the beach.
Excuse you?
They're agates.
Agates?
Yeah, it's like a specific type of rock. They're gathered up off the beach, and then they're all polished up. I used to have a lot more of them in there. My grandma gave them to me. Oh. She loves the beach. She spent most of her life on the beach, and then she'd always gather stuff up, gather rocks and stuff like that. And she recently moved to Mexico. She gave me a bunch of cool stuff like that, but she had like big buckets like full of polished rocks like this, and what she did is she took them back to the beach and threw them out when there was a bunch of like tourists and kids and stuff there looking for stuff on the beach,
and they all came and ate it.
She put all these like nice polished rocks that she'd been gathering for years as like the best ones of like someone who lived on the beach out on the beach, and it was like giving some away.
I want that life, dude.
She lives on the beach in Mexico.
That sounds amazing.
She just switched to way cheaper and warmer water because she was in Oregon before.
I bet she's loving it down there.
Yeah. I mean, she got her whole house remodeled for probably 5% of the price that it would cost here.
Fuck yeah.
Like it's hard to get approved to like buy property there though. You have to live there for over 6 months and like a bunch of weird loopholes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you have to become an actual resident. They don't want people to just buy property and then live in the United States, I guess.
Sure.
But if you actually decide you want to like move down there and live there and go through the process, it's super cheap.
Let's go.
A lot of people retire there.
Yeah, let's go. I've been to Costa Rica before, and it's beautiful down there. That's probably the place where I'd go to retire. The food is so good and everything's so cheap and people are so friendly. A little humid, but they got monkeys.
There's monkeys in
There's
Costa
monkeys
Rica?
down there, man. Yeah.
Are they wild monkeys or?
They're wild monkeys. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they're not the kind that'll rip your face off, you know. If you stop giving them Xanax. They're the nice monkeys. They're the nice
I didn't even know there was monkeys.
Yeah,
in
monkeys.
Costa
They
Rica.
got mangoes too. You ever had a fresh mango?
Not super fresh.
No. Yeah.
Man,
I imagine the
It's really
closest thing is
Yeah.
eating a mango in like Southern California. So
we can fucking
like, probably somewhat fresh. But
Yeah. Yeah.
We can talk about like Iraq like all day and I'm good, but you start talking about Costa Rica. my ex-girlfriend lived in Costa Rica, and that's where I'm getting the PTSD.
That's where we're talking
That's where
about.
I'm getting the trauma.
He's talking about getting
response.
blown up in Fallujah, and you're like, yo,
Yeah.
we cannot talk
I
about
ship
chilling
Costa
on the
Rica
beach.
off.
I don't want to think about my ex-girlfriend right now at all. Can we talk about death, please?
Oh yeah.
God.
Are we about ready to wrap it up?
We're at almost an hour and a half, so I mean, it's
Yeah,
up,
that
to,
might
it's up
be
to you
good.
guys.
I
If
did
there's
wanna-
anything that you want to throw in that we didn't,
I did want to say one thing. That I was also wounded in Iraq. I'm the only one that was wounded.
he's
You
like,
see? It's the craziest thing.
that's the craziest fucking
On my
thing.
fingernail right here.
Oh, no.
You see that crack right there?
Bro.
Okay, so in Fallujah,
Oh, man.
I was in a firefight, and I was, long story short, I was trying to fucking put a new belt into a feed tray, like in a firefight, and he slammed it down too early, and he slammed it on my finger and fucked up my finger.
That would hurt.
And he broke my fingernail, and it broke it like all the way down into
Where it'll never grow back again.
Ever since then, it's grown back weird. And this is it.
I have one of
And
those.
this is the scar.
Like
this
my
is this.
I broke my finger,
Scar
and my
that I
bone came
carry.
out of the nail,
Oh,
and then like
dude.
it always grows back like this. It happened to me when I was 12.
Is the bone still coming out?
No, but my
Oh.
fingernail grows with like
Jesus, dude.
it just like always has that weird groove in the middle.
Shit. Yeah.
Since I was 12, like 20 years.
Shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You play guitar? You got like guitar fingers.
No.
You play piano or
I tried.
anything like that?
I tried playing guitar. I'm not very musical.
No.
Yeah. I always thought I'd be like badass playing the guitar. I
Yeah.
used to have long hair and shit.
Yeah.
I'm just not very good at it.
Yes,
I like
no.
learned some songs and shit just because
Uh-huh.
I'm like smart and dedicated
Yeah.
enough to like I'm not just gonna give up on this. But then eventually I just gave up. on it.
Yeah. No, you got it. You learn just enough to get yourself laid.
Yeah,
And that-
yeah.
that's-
and
that's
then you're like,
really-
I don't really need this
Yeah,
thing
no.
anymore. You know, like, I figured out a few
That's so
tricks
cool,
along
yeah.
the way. Like,
That's
but
so
That's
boring.
always. That is always.
That's so
easy way
fucking
to-
boring.
Okay.
No, I.
I'm gonna learn guitar just to get laid.
That's why I do anything.
That's the most
Really,
boring.
when it comes down to it.
When I was playing guitar, it was 6th to 9th grade. So.
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to get laid in 6th to 9th grade.
Yeah.
That was so
The
fucking
first time
foreign to
I
me.
got laid was in 8th grade. So.
I was still watching
Really?
like
Yeah.
gargoyles
Wow.
and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also like. I started smoking weed when I was in the 4th grade.
4th grade.
Yeah, and
Wow.
like I had crazy parents. Right now, both my parents are homeless. So like at the
Wow.
time, they were cool with
I thought you were
the
just
kids doing whatever.
Bad
you
boy
know?
for life.
Yeah.
That was what's up.
No, like this is
I was like,
definitely
this kid breaks the rules, doesn't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
This
and
is
it's like, oh no,
definitely
he had
cleaned
bad
up
parents.
version of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's opened up a whole new can of worms.
Let's do it. Let's dive
When's the
in.
first time you fucked someone?
Me?
Yeah.
I
I didn't want to assume it was a woman.
No, it was. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? It was my very first girlfriend, the very first girl I was in love with. In the back of a car on a hill overlooking the city.
Beautiful.
The summer of
He's
my,
like painting a picture.
Yeah.
I just thought he was gonna say like
it was-
freshman year,
Yeah.
senior year,
feel like I got
whatever.
laid.
Yeah, no, the summer of my 18th birthday, right after the summer after I graduated high school, before I
that's
went
perfect,
into the
dude.
Marines.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Was it beautiful?
Yeah, of
It
course.
sounds beautiful.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
I,
in love with
uh,
shit. Yeah, of course it was beautiful.
My first was in a
Dumpster.
parking. Close. It was in a storage container parking lot, and the chick, as soon as we finished, she started bawling and crying on me.
Oh.
She was a head case. those are my type.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was I was 15, I think. Had my
Yeah.
driver's permit.
Yeah, see, mine's way
Yeah.
better. See,
Yeah,
I'm
yours was
so,
way better, yeah.
I'm so glad. I
See?
always know. I
That's
know
why
what
you
I'm
wait till
doing.
you're senior. You
I
can
know
plan
what
it
I'm
out.
doing.
The nice view.
Yeah. But hey, I went to school the next day, and I was glowing. I was just floating down the hallway, just like what happened to you, bro? It was great. It was great.
Yeah,
It was
my-
great. Looking back on it, it was kind of fucking horrible, but like then it was great.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to my situation.
Yeah.
It's like at the time I was like, this is the best thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Because my parents, like I was saying, they didn't really care about much. So that girl moved in with me like right away. She's like, oh, I could just like stay here. No one is gonna say I can't stay the night every night. I was
Yeah.
Where
like, you can.
Yeah.
Where
For
did you
sure.
grow up?
Yeah.
Mostly here. I was born in California, but I lived here most of my life. Then I moved to Oregon for a while.
But like
I
where?
moved back here.
Where here? Did you go to like high school here?
Yeah, I went to Centennial High School.
Okay.
I got kicked out of there, and then I went to. So I did my first year of high
Did you
school
do like
in
Mountain
Eugene,
Cove?
Oregon.
Mountain Cove.
I did. Well,
Yeah.
but they changed it. The first year that I got sent there is when they built a new school. It's called Frank Church,
Oh, okay.
and I was in the first graduating class from that school, 2010.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats. I guess.
Yeah, but I got
Or
no
no.
credits my entire sophomore year. But I went to Centennial because I got kicked out. Like I got suspended the first semester. Then they took all my credits away, and then the second semester I got kicked out. And
They
then,
took all your credits away.
Yeah, because I got suspended. If you miss a certain amount of days, you lose all your credits, and then that counts if you're suspended too. And I got suspended because I was already missing a lot of days, kind of doing my own thing. You know?
Yeah.
I'm furious about that.
Yeah, it worked out for me at Frank Church because they are a lot different.
That's
about
so
that,
like that's fucking fascist.
but- yeah. Oh, it definitely.
That's insane.
It was the
How is
attendance
that?
thing.
What about
It
that?
was definitely my
tells you-
fault, but it was
Right.
also because I knew like no one's gonna care if I don't come to school,
Sure.
except the school.
Sure.
And then I didn't think they were really like, if you miss more than 10 days in a whole semester, then we'll suspend you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, and I also got in trouble at school quite a bit, so
Yeah.
that's why I ended up getting kicked out.
Yeah. Bad boy.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, I ended up graduating, but
Yeah. Good job.
yeah, from alternative school.
Yeah. Hey, it still counts.
Yeah.
Right.
But when I like grew up living in Boise, I went to all different schools all the time, like growing up until I went to high school,
Mhm.
because my parents moved all the time. So I went to a
Did they
different
move all the
elementary
time,
school
or couldn't-
almost every
Or
year.
like got evicted a lot and shit.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
evicted a lot, or like
Renting a lot, like right? Or
always. Yeah, I mean they bought one house right before they got divorced, and then they ended up selling that house. We went to foster care.
When's the first
At
time
the
in your life
they were
you-
like selling the house?
is this like right now, like the last few years for you, the first time in your life you've really felt stability?
Well, I kind of just built my own life
Yeah.
like from a young age up.
You always
Like,
have?
well, my wife and I, we've been together 12 years.
Okay.
So I'd say the last 6 years have
6
been the
years.
most stable, because that's
Yeah.
when I quit drinking. Was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And
That's
before that, I was doing wild shit
Yeah.
all the time.
I
Like
love every piece of that.
even though my awesome wife was staying with me for 5 more years before that, it still wasn't like a good
Yeah.
point in my life. I was paying my bills and then just like partying all the time and being stupid as fuck. Led to me getting enough DUIs to go to prison and then quit drinking. And
Yeah.
I mean, finally, like I would agree. Like now in the last 6 years, the most stable I've been throughout my life.
I'm
This is
jelly.
the nicest house I ever lived in.
I'm jelly of your stability.
Yeah. Oh, you had to build it, didn't you?
I built houses in the same neighborhood.
Like not like, but like you had to build the life that you wanted, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's
well,
admirable.
my wife's kind of the same way. You know, her mom was really hardworking. Her dad's not in the picture at all. Her mom passed away just recently, and she was struggling with alcoholism her whole life, the same as my parents and shit. So whenever we got together, she had just graduated high school. I was 1 year out of high school. And then, like, it took us 5 years or so to figure out how to, like, have a decent family and a decent life that we didn't have.
That's great.
Yeah. But a lot of people would just give up that first 5 years. I mean, I don't understand why she did it. I mean, we like...
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's good. You leave something for people to look or to work after.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like that. Shit, myself included.
I feel like I'm gonna fucking...
Well, probably put a cap on it, but I always give my guests the opportunity to plug upcoming shows and shit like that if you got anything going on.
Are you going to the mic?
Tonight? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, cool.
I'd like to tag along. I go back to Chicago at like 6 a.m. So I'd like to see a little bit of Boise before.
We'll make you laugh.
Yeah, good.
I'll make you laugh
Good.
for sure.
Good. Good.
All right. Well, as always, if you got any comments, put them in the comments section. If you want to be a guest on the show or you got any questions about the show, hit me up at fridgefriendspodcast@gmail.com. And for show dates, go to jcallistermartin.com. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Good night, everybody!